On the next all-new episode of Ninja Kamui.
That's the stuff, baby! Your rage, your thirst for blood! It's burning, burning hot! I'm about to erupt!
The more intensely that you visualize your own actions, the faster and stronger the suit will execute them.
Bring it on, Ninja Boy!
Ninja Kamui. Next Saturday night at midnight on Toonami. Next day on Max. With the demon siblings' defeat, the triumphant slayers are reunited.
His skin damaged by the poison. It's starting to heal.
But the battles of the Red Light District have taken their toll.
Everything's destroyed.
And victory comes with a heavy price.
Where exactly am I? Is this place hell?
Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba Entertainment District. Season finale next Saturday at 12:30. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, welcome to Toonami Therapy on March 7th of 2024. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
And this is our podcast, Toonami Therapy, where we talk about anime and other things we've been watching, including some ones that are actually in fact on Toonami. Alright, so I guess we'll just start with those then. So we've got Toonami episode 4, we've got Ninja Kamui episode 4.
Yeah.
Alright, so unlike last time, where I kind of embarrassed myself by not being able to remember anything, I can actually remember things a little better this time. Alright, so basically, I can remember the plot. I can't remember anyone's name in this series, unfortunately. I might as well just call, like, the main character Mr. Kamui or something. Okay, so Mr. Kamui gets this phone call from someone who says that they'll be willing to help them, but he has to go meet with them. We also see a bit more of I'm just going to call them the Legion of Doom. The Legion of Doom, because they sit around the table. We also get a bunch of we just get flashbacks about Mr. Kamui's backstory and some of the other ninjas, and how he kind of, I think, left the ninja place by breaking the codes or whatever. And then ultimately he's going to meet with the he ends up running into one of the people he worked with before as a ninja. And yeah, that's the episode. And then there's some other stuff with the FBI people, but I don't know if their stuff is important yet.
Yeah, my problem is that I can't figure out what the plot of this show is. It's just basically Mr. Kamui kills people and tries not to get killed. Pretty much, that's all it is. So, I'm having a very hard time following along with it. And I think that's a major problem, because if I don't know what's going on, there's no way I can get invested in the show. This is even worse than stuff like Michiko and Hatching, where at least in Michiko and Hatching, there was some humor to it. Some of the stuff was amusing, but this is just blood, and killing, and then the people at what you call the Legion of Doom sitting around a table and thinking up things. And this has been a pretty awful show so far. So, how many more episodes we got of this thing?
I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna. How many episodes is this? I think it's 12, so we've got 8 left.
Oh my! I'm serious.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I admit to having some of the issues. I'm kind of a little confused about exactly where we're going with the plot. I mean, I get okay, so he wants to try to get revenge on the bad guys, and the Legion of Doom is trying to stop him. But it is just, I kind of feel the like I get all the general stuff, but the more specific things, I feel like either I'm dumb and not understanding, or maybe I'm perfectly smart and it's just not doing a job explaining it, or maybe there's just not really that much to the plot in that regard yet. Maybe things will get a bit more explained. But right now, I mean, I don't dislike the series. I just kind of find it to be there. It's a series that's got a kind of mid plot. It's got some decent action, but other than that, it's just kind of a thing to spend half an hour on before we get to Demon Slayer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Demon Slayer turned things around, so I guess there's still a chance of this turning things around too.
Okay. Anyway, so that's there. I mean, I'm still gonna say this is still, even if I just think it's just kind of okay, I'd honestly say this is still one of the better sort of Toonami original things. I mean, I'd say it beats all of the FLCL sequels, if nothing else, and also Housing Complex C. Although Housing Complex C, I always kind of, just for that utterly baffling final episode, where again the first half of it is just basically a character narrating, and that's like the first half of the episode, a character just explaining the plot. Oh, that was a while ago. Anyway, that's the main thing I remember about that episode. Just the fact that it legitimately felt like they suddenly realized, wait, we've only got 4 episodes? Okay, we better exposition dump some stuff fast. Okay. So, after that, we've got Demon Slayer episode 41. All right. Here we've got here we've got them. So there's fighting the Gyutaro, that's his name. Tanjiro has to leave for a bit to try to get Nezuko away, while the other characters, including Sound Hashiragai, fight him. Sound Hashiragai does get poisoned, but I was a little confused about whether the thing was that he was he holding off the poison, or was it going to kill him and he's fighting until then? I was a little confused about exactly what the status of it was there. And so maybe he's in real strong danger. In any event, everyone ends up is still fighting Gyutaro and Daki. They're fighting Gyutaro and Daki, and yeah, most of the episode is action, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. This has been a pretty good arc, I feel. Although I was hoping for some more entertainment out of the Entertainment District arc. It looks like we just got the district, but we didn't get the entertainment part of it. But it's still entertaining. It's just we didn't get to the part where they went and entertained themselves. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, pretty good, I think.
Yeah, the next arc is just a Swordsmith Village, and then the one after that is, which hasn't aired yet. Well, I think they aired part of it. Hashira Training. So it's literally called the Hashira Training arc. So I don't know if it's actually going to be a full-on training arc, or if that's just a name and it's not actually going to be that much about the training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, just, since it was pretty heavily action-based, I don't know if there's that much to say about it. I mean, we did get I guess some backstory on the demons. I guess they wanted to do that now so that they could do it now instead of just trying to shove it all on us just before they die, like most of the previous demons had when they died. Like, I know Bleach was pretty guilty of the, okay, I'm about to die, I'll have my big flashback that explains everything about my character and backstory. But oh man, does Demon Slayer do that even more. Although it actually didn't do that for the villain in Mugen Train. That was kind of surprising. We didn't get anything from there. But everyone else, it seems like we got them. Anyway, yeah, so that's Demon Slayer. Then we have Licorice Recoil, episode 7. All right, so in this one, let me just sure I understand what this going on. Right, so they basically are trying to I can't remember his name. The guy who's kind of in charge of their cafe, you know, the black guy. I can't remember his name. Well, anyway, they're trying to figure out what he's doing, so they kind of tail him. It turns out he's just meeting with this guy, but so they're like saying, oh, well, whatever. But then Chisato recognizes him as the guy who saved her life a while ago, so she wants to like go to him and like try to thank him, but he denies that, at least initially, although you know, we know it's actually him. So we have some stuff there. And let's see. So that was the stuff there. Then we also have, of course, a bunch more stuff of Majima going around and causing havoc and such. And that was the main stuff of the episode. A lot of it really was just, I guess, going a little more into Chisato's backstory and how it relates to the current things.
Yeah, and then we're going to find out why Seekin dodged bullets.
Did we get that? I thought we got that already. I just, although, well, actually, I know she can. I just don't know if we know why she can.
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay.
Why can't she do it? You know? Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't my favorite episode.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Sorry, we're usually kind of quick on Licorice Recoil just because we've already seen it, but I feel like
we already gave a full-on review of this a long time ago. So
yeah, so we just kind of go through it a little fast, just in case there's anything we wanted to comment. Yeah, I don't have too much to really say about that. So all right, One Piece. We're on episode 657. Yeah. Okay. So in this one, we basically, what do we really get exactly? Oh, Bartolomeo, ends up, seeing, Zoro and, was it Frankie who was with Zoro, or was it, what's his name? The samurai guy. I can't remember which one was with Zoro.
Law.
No, Law. It wasn't Law. Law was somewhere. Law was with the other Straw Hats. I can't remember, but anyway, he ends up, because, as mentioned, he's actually this giant fanboy of Luffy and the Straw Hats, so he's just excited to talk to Zoro, and and ends up saying, "Yeah, I'll bring Luffy to you." So he leaves. We get a bunch of fighting with Rebecca, and then we find out, yeah, she's like a strong fighter, but really she just beats everyone by knocking them out of the arena rather than actually beating them up because. And that was largely the episode, really.
Yes, she copied my strategy from Super Smash Brothers, which is anytime there's a 4-player event, you always just run away while the other 3 people beat each other up. And then once they've gotten themselves down to just 1 left, then you finally go and fight them head on, and you're so far ahead that you easily win. I used that at a tournament one time. I wasn't exactly that popular for doing that, but I got through the first round by doing that. So, yeah, that's kind of what she's doing, and makes me wonder why she even entered this contest if she can't really fight. I thought that we were going to see her like do something amazing. So, yeah, I didn't understand that too much. The Luffy fanboy thing was kind of funny. Although I don't know why anyone would be a fanboy of Luffy, but okay. And yeah, and what was going on with Law in this episode?
Wasn't he just fighting Doflamingo?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yes, and I'm sorry, I gave the wrong. I said this was episode 657. It's 656. Just wanted to briefly correct my mistake there. Yeah, it's Law fighting Doflamingo. Well, Doflamingo is the main villain of the arc, and Law. So we're fighting him pretty early, and it's not even the main character who's fighting him. So I don't know, man. This could be anyone's game. Who knows whether Law will beat Doflamingo?
Mm-hmm. We know who has to beat Doflamingo. We just are a long way away from that happening.
You know, I'm reminded that I was just thinking about, okay, have there been any times where someone other than Luffy beat like the main boss of like the arc? And I'm kind of thinking, we'll be fair and not count ones where no one happened to beat them in that arc because they like just had to fight the minions and then go on or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, Law later on in Wano, he does beat someone who was the main boss of the previous arc. but not that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And then we usually don't discuss it, but we're doing it this time. Naruto Shippuden episode 479, the last episode, kind of, but not really. But it's the last episode, I think, that was actually taken from the manga, and it's an adaptation again of the second to last chapter of the series. The last chapter of Naruto was just after a time skip thing. Anyway, so let's see. Naruto and Sasuke in their fight that lasted how many episodes was that? I actually let me check. I think it was about where they went at each other for about 3 episodes without not really much happening in that. Basically, they essentially both beat each other and both lose an arm in the process. After that, Sasuke's like, yeah, you know, maybe I was being really stupid and wrong when I tried to kill you over these episodes. It kind of feels like the author just needed a final confrontation between the two of us. So, sorry about that. And so then they're all just, well, that's okay. You're forgiven. And apparently they managed to get him off the hook for all the crimes he committed too. So, okay. Anyway.
And then he gets the final word of this episode, not Naruto, even though the episode title is Naruto Uzumaki.
That is, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's somewhat mitigated by the fact he's the final character to say something. We do get some narration at the end, which is all about Naruto. So that at least kind of goes there. But anyway, yeah, so Naruto mentions that don't worry, he'll totally be able to get his arm back through technobabble. And other than that, it's just kind of doing some epilogue stuff. There is a decent amount of stuff in this episode is actually padding, although not like, maybe, I don't know if I would call it padding or filler. I kind of feel when I say padding, it's just making stuff take longer. This was like, adding extra scenes and stuff, like the part where it's mentioned, well, Naruto, technically you're actually still a genin, so you do have to actually still pass the Chunin exam. and has to do some studying to do so. But other than so there, that kind of stuff was added. But yeah, most of that stuff I felt, yeah, it worked out okay. And yeah, so that was basically the episode. Oh yeah, Kakashi becomes Hokage, for the record, and yeah, everything works out well for the characters, and that's basically the end of Naruto. Kind of. We do have another season, which is mostly a bunch of filler stuff.
Hold on a second. Why did Kakashi become Hokage?
Well, who else would do it?
Well, what happened to Tsunade?
Oh, you mean that? Yeah, I mean, I guess Naruto could have done it, but he's still kind of young. I don't know. Did she? I don't know if she retired or if she quit or what. I just know that he became it. There's a lot of episodes again of this that I missed. I don't know if she resigned at some point. Maybe it specified that, or maybe Kakashi just mentioned that he had become it, and I'm not sure. So unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure. Let me take a quick look to see if I can if I can see something explicitly on it. Let's see. I think I don't know. I'm glancing at this stuff. I don't think it's specified. I think we're just supposed to assume she just resigned or something, but I don't know if it was ever explicitly said. It's just like, okay, Kakashi, you're the Hokage now. Which is kind of weird that happens to him after he basically got nerfed because he lost the use of the Sharingan. So, okay, yeah, I would say, yeah, I actually thought this was a decent conclusion to the series. Conclusion with an asterisk again. But
yeah.
After a very, very, very overly long final arc, I do think it managed to bring things to a fairly fulfilling conclusion, even if it kind of had to force some stuff with Sasuke to make them fight, and then after that say, well, I guess I'm cleared of all charges because Naruto and Kakashi like me. Yay, nepotism!
Yeah. It was an episode, that's for sure. Not really sure what else to say about it. I thought it was kind of amusing. And of course, they have that whole paper stack joke where they're always joking about whoever's Hokage has to fill out all this paperwork. Like, what is this paperwork about? You know? Like, it doesn't seem like most of their missions require paperwork. So I don't really know what that's all about. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was an episode. And that's all I got.
You know, it occurs to me, if there's a lot of paperwork, couldn't someone just make a bunch of shadow clones to make it all go way faster? Because, and remember, when the shadow clone disappears, you get all the memories of it too, so you don't forget things. Maybe they're worried that it'll be like that filler episode where Naruto's shadow clones get upset and go on strike, although that all turned out to be a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think I can do a full, hey, this is what I thought about Naruto and things, because one, there's just so much of it, and second, a lot of the final arc I didn't see. I didn't really read it in a bunch of the later stuff in the manga, and we only kind of watched it sporadically when it was in anime form. But I do think, yeah, this was it was a decent ending. I am a little surprised that at least when I look over the episode descriptions, I don't really see something that seems to be a adaptation of the final chapter of the series. So maybe that's someplace else. But yeah, the remaining 21 episodes are kind of filler things. It's some of it is sort of like, just kind of bridging the gap between this and the like post Boruto time skip.
Boruto.
Yeah, why did I say Boruto? I said post Boruto time skip. That doesn't make any sense. It's not afterwards and stuff like, hey, here's how how these characters got together. Well, here's showing a little of that, I guess. That kind of stuff. So I don't know how much of that we'll be watching, but it was a little nice to see the conclusion asterisk of Naruto.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's it for Toonami stuff then, and we can move on to the other things that we've got. Okay, let me just take one. This is something I should have done before. I'm just trying to check on something. Oh yeah, it looks like if you wanted to, the elements in the final chapter of Naruto, I'm looking at the Naruto wiki to see what the corresponding the episodes were. It looks like it lists Naruto Shippuden number 479, which is the one we saw. So some of that was in here, I think. Then, yeah, I think that was just the final narration. I think that final narration was in the last chapter of the series. And then if you want to see the rest, well, watch Boruto episode 24 and 106. All right. And there we go. That's all right. That's our Toonami stuff. Let's move on to the other series that we watched. Okay. So, I did want to just mention, I actually, since we were staying up for that, I did watch Dragon Ball Z Kai episode 2. And I was thinking, oh, wow. So, seeing some of the early stuff is interesting. Just to realize, oh, wow, it's well known now, Goku, he's like a Saiyan from another planet who was sent here and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, must have been really, and that's how we were introduced to him in English, because we started with Dragon Ball Z. This would have been like the second episode of it. But way back in Japan, this would have been like a gigantic plot twist, because we had no idea about it before that. And it is a little funny when people are talking about power levels and the numbers are so small compared to later things. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, these characters have, like, wow, Goku had, I think they said something about he had a power level like 300. Remember how later on Vegeta does that famous freak out about his power being over 9,000? It's like, wow, only 300. Well, he came a long way. I don't know if they're still giving numbers, but I think Frieza had a power of 1 million. I don't know what they're at now. They must be in the billions with the crazy power scaling this series has.
Right, but that wasn't even Frieza's final form. So we don't know how much it is because that wasn't his final form.
I think, well, it's one of those weird things where when we talk a final form, do you mean like his original final form, or do you mean that later Golden Frieza thing in Dragon Ball Super?
No, I meant it as a joke.
Oh, okay, I see it. Okay. What was Frieza's? The wiki has all this information, actually. After the Frieza saga, the only power level stated by a scouting series is that of future Trunks, but then some like extra material gives some information. I am kind of curious. Okay, I underestimated Frieza. His power when he was initially fought, his final form, his true form there was up to 120 million. So it's just funny to remember Vegeta freaks out over it being over 9,000. And then like the guy in the next arc is 120 million. By the way, fun fact, Vegeta, the big over 9,000 meme, that was just in the original dub. What Vegeta actually said in Japanese and in the subsequent dub is over 8,000. That was the actual line. For some reason, it got changed to 9,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyway. Alright. I think that's it for that then. I could probably look more into power levels, but people probably aren't that super interested. All right. So, done with the Toonami stuff. It just was a little interesting to look back at what the series was like at the very start when it aired in the US, where you had things like, oh yeah, Piccolo, he was kind of a villain at first, but then he became a good guy. So, and other things. All right. Before I'm going to try to avoid doing more babbling stuff. So let's move on to Shangri-La Frontier, episode 14. So Sunraku is fighting that other character, screen name Dragonfly, apparently, in the other game, Burp, they called it. And he actually the other guy manages to win because he accidentally unlocks a new bug, because everyone in that game just plays with the bugs. So they have that. There's a bunch of stuff there. I'm going to assume he's going to end up being an important character at some point later on. Then we go back into actual Shangri-La Frontier, the game, and then Sunraku does the important and very interesting to watch process of combining his skills. And ultimately, they are just do some more planning for fighting Weathermon, and there's some information about how they will probably have to deal with the other PK members from Pencilgon's guild, because they don't want them to beat Weathermon. So they need to fight them first. So yes, and that was our episode. It was one of those ones where kind of not much happened, but at the same time, I didn't really mind it.
Yeah, this felt like not much happened, honestly. Yeah, I felt like, okay, we had this whole entire thing about him lugging a big potion that had a stick in it, and he had to drink that to get his powers, which is like, okay, yeah, this is something you'd see in a video game, but why should I be interested in it? I mean, I don't know. I feel kind of like this show's purpose is to teach us how video games work, but in doing that, it's kind of just, I don't know, it's just not very exciting. So
I think this is pretty consistently a series where when it goes for comedy, it works really well. When it goes for more specific, like playing of games, it's usually not quite as interesting, because it is just kind of, hey, this is people playing a game, except, it's not even a real game you can go and play. So it's not even like, a let's play or watching someone stream it. So that's the problem. But at the same time, unlike some previous ones, I kind of got some enjoyment of the episode. I think I thought this, ironically, I think when they were in Shangri-La Frontier in this episode, I liked it less than when they were in the other game.
Yeah.
Okay. So, then we've got my teen. One quick thing to just mention for anyone who's actually listening along, watching along with us. The next episode listed on Crunchyroll is 14.5. That's a recap episode. We're just planning to skip that and go to episode 15.
Yeah, although I might watch it anyway, but it's not of prime importance.
Yeah. In any event, I might also watch it out of curiosity, see if there's a decent framing device or whatever. But in any rate, we'll be watching episode 15 for the next for our next podcast episode.
Right.
All right.
And I'm glad you said that because that way I remember it.
Okay. So after that, we've got my teen romantic comedy Snafu, episode 23. So, basically, they end up how do I explain it? Right. Basically, they decide, okay, we've got to actually make everyone at the student council hunker down and get everything to work and stop wasting time so that we can make this Christmas event work. So they basically go there, and then basically through the power of saying, hey, of speeches, I guess, not even like exactly speech, more the thing where, you say, okay, I'm going to completely analyze your character and explain what you need to improve, sort of speech. They managed to convince them. They managed to get everyone to work together, and they have the Christmas event, and it works out fine. And that is our episode.
Yeah, and surprisingly, I thought it actually worked pretty well. A lot of times I'm baffled by the conversations people are having because they don't really have any substance to them. And that's kind of what the first part of this episode was like. It was, they were just saying things that didn't really mean anything. And eventually they just all kind of got together and did the whole Christmas thing, and it worked out perfectly. And that's all they had to do. They didn't have to argue with each other and go through all this stuff that they did. And now Yukino is kind of changing a lot. I noticed she's acting differently from her usual self. Like, I guess they figured, like, okay, they're waiting for the writers are probably like, okay, the fans are waiting to find out who Hachiman is going to end up with, so we better start doing something about that. So they started changing Yukino's personality, I guess, in order to make her a little more normal of a human being rather than being a miserable human being, which she's been pretty much the whole series. So yeah, so Yukino's getting closer with Hachiman, and I was fully expecting that Yui would be the first one to do that because it only makes sense. You have Hachiman try with Yui, and then that fails, and then the OTP ends up working out perfectly. So I'm still confused what's going on with that whole romance thing, but that's why there's a season 3, I guess, in order to flesh that out even more once this is over. So anyway, I like the episode. Some things I didn't like about it, but overall I liked it a lot.
I liked it too, although a lot of that might have just been relief that the student council arc is done. Because this lasted like 5 episodes, a few more if you count, the actual election such stuff. Yeah. And it was just, I felt such a downgrade in quality.
Yeah.
So, and it's over. So hopefully now we can move on to more interesting things in the remaining, how many episodes left do we have this season? 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that's that episode. All right. Then we've got Full Metal Panic Fumofu episode 6. Do you want to describe these?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is that there's word on the street that there's a perverted guy going around. He's called Pony, and he goes around and assaults girls. And sure enough, he gets Kyoko. And what ends up happening is that he puts her hair in a ponytail. And then he goes up against Kaname. And the same thing happens, except that Sosuke is watching her as Bonta-kun. And then this crazy police officer gets into a gunfight with Bonta-kun, and they fight each other all this time, and then out of nowhere, Kaname runs into them with Pony, and they're able to catch Pony and do the Scooby-Doo thing and pull off his mask and find out who he really is. And they find out that he likes ponytails on girls, but now he's going to be going away for a long time, just like all those Scooby-Doo villains. So they solved that problem, but not before a whole bunch of hilarious antics between Sosuke in the Bonta-kun suit and the pony, who could only say the word pony like a Pokemon. And so it was back and forth, Pony and Fumofu, between the two of those. And then the second half of the episode, Sosuke can't get scared by almost anything. So Kaname has the brilliant idea of taking him into this old haunted hospital and trying to scare him there. And he keeps on not getting scared until finally something happens with Kaname where the floor falls under her. Then it turns out that this was like another one of those Scooby-Doo things where they were just trying to scare people away. Which is like, it sounds so much like a Scooby-Doo episode. But then on the way home, Kaname gets Sosuke to admit that he was scared for just a second. So she ends up winning that battle. But this episode was really funny. And there's not much more to say about it.
I'm kind of surprised it didn't go with because usually when you have this sort of plot in when there seems to be ghosts or weird stuff going on, then it turns out, oh no, it's just like weird either misunderstandings or people faking it, and then at the end it's always like, oh, but there actually is a ghost, like Attack on Titan Junior High did that. But here it doesn't do that. Well, it seems like it does that, but then it turns out no, that was actually a fake too. I guess it makes a little sense if maybe they don't want to actually introduce ghosts into this continuity, as kind of goofy a continuity as it is. This is technically supposed to be in canon with the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, these were kind of fun episodes, and it was, like you said, basically scaring people away like a Scooby-Doo episode, which would that even work nowadays? I'm pretty sure that if you were doing fake ghost stuff to try to scare things away, you'd probably get a lot of the kind of people who want to explore haunted houses and stuff going in there. I mean, there's literal TV shows about people going to these places. It seems like that would just bring people there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, not too much else to say about these. They were fun episodes. That ironically also kind of brings us into the next show, which I suggested. So yeah, this one's Dark Gathering. It's on High Dive. Basically, the plot. This unlike that one. Yeah, the ghosts are real in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the plot is our main character. What was his name again? Kaitaro, right? He's this guy who actually senses ghosts and gets kind of harassed by them. He ends up having to tutor the cousin of one of his friends, but it turns out that she's completely obsessed with ghosts and stuff and can actually see them, and drags him along to try to go to check out this haunted phone booth. Where, are those? I legitimately wonder, are those still really a thing in Japan? Because they are like not a thing, at least where I live in the U.S. I don't even think we've got any phone booths in my city anymore. But anyway, so they do that. It ends up attacking him, but Yayoi, that's her name, beats Ed and kind of takes it. And captures it, and then I guess lets some other spirit she captured rip it apart. And yeah, that was the general plot of the episode. I kind of skipped. Oh yeah, she can also, she's got these two pupils in her eyes, which make it look like them like skulls. Because her parents got killed in this accident involving a ghost and things. So yeah, so that was our first episode. I'm kind of curious about what you thought of it.
Yeah, well, I was surprised because it's a horror anime, and we don't really watch too many horror stuff, or at least not since Tokyo Ghoul completely failed. So, it was kind of interesting to see a horror-style anime, but with humor mixed in, and I thought it worked pretty well for the first episode in getting me interested in what it's about. It still felt to me a little bit like, okay, why are they going back to this phone booth over and over and over again just to have this one ghost come out? That was a little confusing to me, but I thought it was a pretty good beginning. I liked the characters. The main character is a pretty good main character, I think. And the creepy girl, she works pretty well too. And then the older girl, she kind of makes things work too. So yeah, I thought it was a fairly good first episode, and I'm interested in seeing more.
Yes, it was. I liked it. I did already watch the first few episodes when I was kind of looking at some series to try to consider one to watch. So this was, I had already seen this, although I did a while ago. I hadn't seen the dub before. In terms of dub, the voices are okay. I'm Yayoi, that's her name, the girl with the sort of skull eyes. She's really good. The others are just, okay. I kind of feel like Yayoi is doing a lot of the carrying of the show in general in this episode, because she was the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Like stuff where she just immediately says, "Let's go someplace haunted." So yeah, this is. I think I originally might have described this as a horror comedy. I think it's more accurate to say it is a horror series with some comedy in it, but the comedy is good, and it helped lighten some stuff up so that it never got too overly serious. I was a little surprised. I was remembering, oh yeah, some parts of this are kind of violent, weren't they? So yeah, I also enjoyed it. Well, I suggested it, so yeah, I think this was a pretty good start to the series, so we'll see how it goes after this.
Yeah.
All right. One fun thing is that I believe if we watch the series one episode per week, by the time we get to the end of the series, the English manga, the translation will have caught up to the point where the anime left off. So I can start reading that then.
Uh,
All right. I don't have anything else to say about the shows we watched. So I guess we can give our rankings for them.
yeah. Let's see. What's today's date?
The 7th.
7th of March. Okay. All right. Well, for this week, third place, I'm going to give it to Naruto for lifetime achievement purposes. And second place will be Dark Gathering. And first place will be Snafu, because it finally got us through that difficult arc and had a pretty good conclusion to it. And it brings up the possibility of an actual romance in this show. So I'm pretty optimistic about it. So Snafu wins this week. But Naruto did get on the board. So congratulations to Naruto for that.
Yeah, I also kind of feel I owe it to give Naruto a spot for this. It was a decent it was a decent episode anyway, but so yeah, I would put third place Naruto Shippuden. Second place would be, just pondering exactly the order I would want to. Yes, let's do Dark Gathering in second place, and I'll give Fumofu first.
Okay.
And yes, so that's them. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about while we're here?
Yeah. So since we finished watching the One Piece on Netflix, I figured I'd check out the Cowboy Bebop series on Netflix to see, just see what it's like. So I watched the first episode, and I was surprised. It wasn't really too bad. It was actually pretty good, and it kind of actually did follow somewhat the plot of the first episode of the show. But there's things I don't like about it. I don't like that they turned Jet into like this guy who always just swears and curses and yells and gets angry all the time, which he wasn't like that in the anime. He was actually kind of a good-natured guy in the anime. So why they made him like this raging lunatic is beyond me. Faye Valentine gets introduced in the first episode, and no, not the way she was introduced in the original series. The original series had a great introduction to her, which made her such an iconic character. In this series, you just suddenly see someone holding a gun behind Spike Spiegel's head, and then you see, oh, it's her. And yeah, so I didn't like those parts of it. I did like the guy who played Spike Spiegel. In fact, I liked all the actors. I just didn't like what they did to the character. Like, I mean, yeah, I know there's like some people had controversy about, well, why are they changing the races of the characters? I don't have any problem with the races of the characters. I just had a problem with the way they made Jet like really angry, and that just didn't seem to be him, not the guy I remember from the original series. But yeah, overall, the first episode was pretty good, gave a pretty good introduction to the characters. My assumption is that Radical Edward is never going to show up because she was never shown anywhere in the opening theme song, which they purposely made sure to have only 3 characters in that opening sequence. which has the old music from the show, but it has like live action video to it. So they did a very good job with that. I just don't think they're going to ever add Radical Edward to the show, which is a shame because she adds so much fun to the show in its second half of the series. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and I'm certainly interested in watching more. I think there are 10 episodes, so maybe
Yes.
if I just watch one per week, I could give my reports on them. But yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people say. But then again, I did watch the first episode only, and usually a show is going to put out its best self in its first episode because they know they need that to make a good first impression for people to keep watching. But yeah,
They didn't do that with The Eminence in Shadow.
yeah, but anime have a 3-episode rule. See?
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. You can keep going if you had anything else.
No, that was all I really had.
Okay. In regards to Edward, I haven't watched the show, but I actually do know the answer to that. Do you want me to tell you, or?
Yeah, go ahead and tell me.
Okay. Ed shows up at the very end of the 10th episode as sort of kind of an obvious teaser for, Ed's going to play a role in the next season, but the series was canceled after the first season, so we won't get to see that. But Ed does show up, but only again at like the very end as essentially a teaser for the season that didn't happen.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so it got canceled.
Yes, it had one season, and it wasn't pop, and they I guess didn't get the views or wasn't popular enough or any of that sort of thing for them to renew it. Unlike One Piece, where after I think like a week or two after it premiered, they announced it was renewed.
Yeah, this is clearly a very big budget undertaking, so I can see why it would get canceled because it's definitely very high budget.
I know the creator of the original Cowboy Bebop didn't like the show, and he didn't have much to do with it. So that's the thing that people point to in the One Piece, because the original creator of One Piece was very involved in it. So, but yeah, I can't really speak to this. I haven't seen it. I am curious to see what you think of later episodes. Maybe it is one of those shows that people kind of piled on and were a little unfair to. We'll see. Other than that, yeah, that's a criticism a lot of people make of Netflix, how they just keep canceling series. But sometimes they renew them, like their Avatar: The Last Airbender live action was apparently popular enough they announced that they renewed it for 2 seasons. I think they renewed it for 2 seasons, but only 2 seasons. Like, it'll be okay, this series will be 3 seasons long, which makes sense because the original cartoon was 3 seasons. So I'm going to assume they'll just go through that. You never watched Avatar though, right?
Nope.
Okay.
By the way, did you hear that the studio that made Ruby is closing down?
Rooster Teeth? Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
They made at least the original one. Did they make Ice Queendom? I know they were at least somewhat involved, but I don't know if maybe a different studio handled them. Okay, Shaft was the one that actually handled the anime, with presumably, obviously, some oversight by Rooster Teeth. So yes, we don't know. Yes, people don't know what that will mean for Ruby, which or their other things. Some people are speculating that just sell some of their properties off, and maybe some will continue. I'm not sure myself. I still haven't seen Ruby. I saw Ice Queendom obviously, but I didn't really see the original series. I keep hearing that the series got really bad later on. So. Okay, well, that was interesting to hear about. I guess I can. Sure, I'll mention it. I did recently rewatch through JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. The first part of it, not the second. I've been watching all this stuff. I watched it dubbed in Spanish, so the voices were a little different. And yeah, rewatching it, I think, yeah, it was a pretty solid show. There were some weak episodes. There were some parts I didn't like, but on the whole, it was a pretty good show. Although one thing that did repeatedly start annoying me is they keep getting all these injuries in the fights, and then in the next episode they're perfectly fine. And I was thinking maybe this is why in part 4 they made sure to have some healer character in each group to just explain that, because in like part 4 Josuke has some healing powers, part 5 Giorno can do it, part 6 Foo Fighters /FF can do some of that. Anyway, so yeah, that was decent. I think I'll later on go back and watch the second part, the Battle in Egypt one. But yeah, Stardust Crusaders, pretty good. The whole. I originally was starting like from the very beginning of the series with Phantom Blood, which rewatching, I'm like, yeah, this isn't really that interesting. Although, to be honest, part of it might have been the fact that since I wanted to watch all this stuff Spanish dubbed to try to improve it, I was watching that. And Jonathan has the exact same voice as Subaru from ReZero in Spanish, and it kept distracting me. Because the voice works fine for Subaru, and with Jonathan, I'm just like, wow, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, but I'm just talking Spanish stuff here. One day, maybe I'll actually get good enough that I can watch something in Spanish that I haven't seen before. All right. And that's it for that. I don't have anything else to say then. Do you?
No.
All right, everyone. We'll see you all next week for, well, the same stuff generally. Really. So, yep, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Man, losing one of the greatest manga creators of all time really sucks.
But Akira Toriyama's monumental influence on the medium will live on forever.
Back in '98, Dragon Ball Z put Toonami on the map.
And the Dragon Ball franchise has been our rock ever since.
So tonight, with heavy hearts, we're paying tribute to Toriyama-san.
With the first 8 episodes of DBZ Kai from 2 to 6 a.m.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Toonami Therapy, our podcast where we talk about anime we have been watching, some of which is actually on Toonami. I'm Michael.
Yep. I'm Tommy.
And before we start the podcast, there is some important news to share. The first was something that we didn't mention last time because it got announced like about 2 hours after we finished recording, which is, and I think we should mention it because Toonami mentioned it, Akira Toriyama, best known for being the creator of Dragon Ball, died about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. They only
March 1st.
Yeah. They announced it. They actually only announced it a week after he died because they wanted to have like a private family funeral and only do that after they had done all that. So yeah, as a result, I should mention Toonami is going to be skipping over One Piece because they're going to have a Dragon Ball. Was it a Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Z Kai marathon?
I think it's Dragon Ball Z Kai.
Okay. So, yeah, that's pretty big, especially because a lot of times when a famous person dies, it's when they really at a time where they really haven't been doing too much. And obviously, while his like biggest days were behind him, he still was working on Dragon Ball material. He was working on Dragon Ball Super, the manga, which is still going on. It kept the anime ended midway through. I don't know where the manga is now, to be honest. It seemed like a pretty good ending, so I don't know where it went after that. But so yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But yeah, definitely one of the death of one of the biggest names in anime or manga.
Yeah. 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 Definitely did a lot for us fans over here in America. So.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for Dragon Ball Z, I think we'd be like 5 to 10 years behind in terms of anime access. I feel like right now we might only now be starting to get like simulcasts and simul subs and such. Dragon Ball was just because there was anime before that, and it was. It achieved some popularity, but Dragon Ball was the one that Dragon Ball Z more specifically, that just made it super popular. It's like either Dragon Ball is pretty much I'm trying to think if it's the most recognizable anime, but the other competitor would be Pokemon, but that's kind of unfair because Pokemon didn't really start as a manga or anime. It was games, and then it just became everything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but people probably don't want us to be going too much about this. Everyone else has talked about it before. I just thought it would be important that we acknowledge this. Okay. And so after that, the other news is that we do know what's coming next for Toonami to replace Demon Slayer, I think it was, and that's Zom 100. So, yeah, that'll be coming in a few weeks. So I guess we'll watch that.
Yeah.
All right.
I read a little bit about it, and I thought the idea of the show sounds a little weird, but we'll see what it's like whenever it comes on.
Yeah, we will. I watched a little of it, but not too much. There's one advantage of it being on Toonami. When it originally aired, it had these big production difficulties, so a bunch of episodes were delayed for a while. But if it's coming on Toonami, then it'll just be, episode. There won't be those breaks, except for, for like some of the big things, like they probably... when is 4th of July this year? Is it on a weekend or is it during the week? It's 4th of July, Thursday, so they probably wouldn't take that week off. I don't know about some of the other weeks. But anyway, that's how it goes in regards to all that stuff. In the meantime, let's get back to discussing the shows that did air. So, here we've got Ninja Kamui episode 5. So essentially what happens in this episode is that basically we see the the Legion of Doom, as I'm going to always call it, are still plotting to kill the main character, Egan, although I still kind of want to call him just Mr. Kamui. Anyway, he ends up fighting a bunch of ninjas again, including some ninjas that basically put on mecha armor. And yeah, that's fights them. They seem to beat him, but then they realize, wait, we're only 5 episodes into this. We've still got some more. So then he gets rescued. It's well, we did get some more action stuff, which was pretty decent. It's the show just has the problem that the action is pretty good. Like that's something everyone seems to agree. The action is good enough. The plot is just really bare, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know how we got to hear from the first episode of the show. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me. And I don't know. I'm having a hard time finding positive things to say about it.
The funny thing is that the plot is, I said it's bare, which is weird because the plot is simultaneously really simple but also really confusing to me. Because it's just, okay, my family got killed. I want to get revenge, and these people want to kill me, and they killed my family. Now I want to kill them. Now I will, and that will cause us to fight. Except a bunch of the specifics are just kind of confusing to me. Now maybe I've just not been paying attention well enough, or something like that. But that's kind of my issue with it. The action's good. That's something that I definitely want to praise it for. But in terms of plot, the show's not so good. I like the director. Like, they made a big deal. The director, he was the guy who did like the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, they got a great director. It looks good. The action is good. I just don't think the writing is up to task on it.
Mm-hmm.
Did the director write it, or did someone else? Let me just check that quick. Yeah, directed by Sung-woo Park, but it looks like the writing was done by Shigeru Murakoshi. I don't know what he actually has done before. Let me just take a quick look at this. Let's see. Okay, Shigeru, because I'm just suddenly curious. Okay, a bunch of. Okay, it looks like this is the first series he's like been the main head writer for. Prior to this, it looks like he did specific episodes for some series, but not the main ones. Let's see, he was. Oh, wait a minute. Is this actually? I just need to check this very quick, because I'm actually seeing his credits for one of the series that we are actually watching, and I want to see which specific episodes. Yeah, he it looks like he also wrote a bunch of episodes of Dark Gathering, so which I like a lot more than this, but of course that one's also based on a manga, so you have something for that. So I don't know. We'll see. I at least the action's good. I just wish the rest, the writing was as good as that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Back into now onto a series that has really good action and better writing than Ninja Kamui. Mm-hmm. Demon Slayer. We got episode 42. So basically they're still fighting. Honestly, I kind of almost feel like I could describe this episode with, well, they keep fighting. But that's basically the case. We do have Inosuke behead Daki and runs off with her head, but then Gyutaru manages to stab him and get the head back. Tanjiro ends up finding that Sound Hashira got beaten, and so I guess it's just up to our main characters, or at least two of them, because Inosuke seems to have been taken out. So Tanjiro and Zenitsu still around. So I guess they'll go and somehow beat the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got two, or that, or maybe they just drive them off. We do only have 2 episodes left.
Yep, 2 episodes left in this arc, which was supposed to be about an entertainment district, but there hasn't been much of that. It's been mainly just this big fight. The entertainment district thing was a bait and switch, but yeah,
I find it more entertaining than the previous arc. Maybe that's what it means.
But yeah, this was a pretty fun episode. Pretty enjoyable. I seem to like Inosuke the best. Maybe just because he wears that boar on his head and he looks like Son Raku from Shangri-La Frontier. But yeah, I thought it was a fun episode. So yeah, pretty good.
Yes, this while this arc and even you could say this episode hasn't been perfect, I do think it's better than Mugen Train. So we gotten Licorice Recoil episode 8 to just go through it a bit quickly because we have watched the series before. Essentially, they find out they're losing money, so Takina creates a new menu item and doesn't realize that the reason it gets popular is because it looks like the sort of stereotypical Japanese picture of poop. But they make money because of that. Majima confronts Chisato and but he gets away after Takina comes to rescue her. Chisato finally goes to this doctor's appointment she's been putting off, but then it turns out that the bad guys are actually in control there, and they basically put her to sleep in order to take out her artificial heart.
Yeah, so the artificial heart is what allows her to somehow dodge bullets from point blank range, which I don't understand exactly how that works, but okay.
I think it's supposed to be that her senses are heightened so she can figure out where the bullets would hit because... Well, had she ever dodged it completely at point blank range? Maybe he has, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought he did in this episode.
Okay, maybe he did, and I can't remember the specifics. I think the explanation was supposed to be that she's just able to subconsciously recognize the signs that someone's going to shoot and therefore dodge it. Okay. So, yes, that's Licorice Recoil. Decent episode.
Yep.
We move on to One Piece episode 657. Is that the right number? I hope I have been getting these numbers right. Yes. Okay. So, Bartolomeo is still looking for Luffy. He finds Luffy at the end. Rebecca is still fighting. She seems to be losing, but then someone else helps her, and then she makes a super big guy fall off the arena into the water to beat him. Then we also find out that all the fighters who have lost have basically been dumped down this chute in order to... Well, we don't know, but they're all trapped in this place.
And somehow people keep on losing to Rebecca, even though they know the only thing she ever does is just dodges and moves out of the way so they fall in. Like, you'd think after about, 40 or 50 guys did that, they'd figure out a different way of fighting her, I think that's kind of stupid that people keep on losing to her just because she moves out of the way. Like, that. It shouldn't be that easy for her to win every match. So yeah, that doesn't make much sense. And I kind of realized in this episode that the Straw Hats weren't even on the radar of this episode. Maybe a little bit of Luffy. That was about it. I mean, there was hardly any straw hatting going on in this episode at all.
Yes. And really, the main thing that you remember about Luffy is just how much time he spends just standing in one place running.
Yeah.
He's just like going, okay, I got to get going, and he starts running. Except he's in place, and instead of just stopping running to converse, he's still doing that. I guess maybe the point is so that he can take off more quickly when he does start running. But it's still kind of weird to see.
That was pretty funny. But what other Straw Hats showed up in this episode? I can't think of one.
I think it was just Luffy, but if we want to be sure, I can look it up on the One Piece wiki because every episode you can look it up and it'll list every character who appeared in it in order of appearance. Okay, let's see. Oh wow, characters in order of appearance. It mentions like Sanji, all the Straw Hats all do appear. It's just in Bartolomeo's imagination.
Oh, okay.
At the start, where he's thinking about how much he respects them, they all show up there. So yes, I will say, by the kind of slow standards of the anime, it did feel like more stuff happened in this episode than usual.
Mm-hmm.
At least it looks like. Yeah, well, in terms of page count, I'm looking at this. Okay, so we got. Wow, this is. I want to read this. So we got 4 pages from chapter 725, 2 from 726. 1 from 727 and 1 from 731. They really did mixing and matching of things that were in multiple chapters, maybe to try to I guess do a bunch of things so that it really felt like more things were occurring at once. Ugh. Okay. All right, so we got One Piece through. We did watch Naruto Shippuden, episode 480. So this one's a flashback. It's basically about Naruto and Hinata when they were really young and the first time they met, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, very disappointing. I was thinking this was going to be like an epilogue, and instead it's just flashbacks. So I don't know how many of these flashbacks I'm going to be able to sit through, especially at 2:30 in the morning.
It's the first 4 episodes of this season are all flashbacks, I think. After that, looking at episode 5, I think it might be stuff. It might be more epilogue stuff in that it's things that happen later, but I'm not 100% sure on it. But the first 4 ones are just flashback. Like the next one is going to be about Sasuke and Sakura. The one after that is about Gaara and Shikamaru, and the one after that is about Jiraiya and Kakashi. You know that because those are the names of the episodes. There's Sasuke and Sakura, then there's Gaara and Shikamaru, and lastly, Jiraiya and Kakashi. Those are the names of the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not really too much to say about it, but we did watch it, so I figured I might as well mention it.
Right.
I know some later stuff this season does kind of cover some things that happened after the sort of end of the series, but we're not there yet. We're just flashbacks. Yeah. They knew that Naruto was a moneymaker, and they wanted to get one more season out of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it for all of our Toonami shows. We'll then move on to the other things we've watched. So, we've got Shangri-La Frontier. Did you watch the recap episode?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I did also, which is 14.5, and then the actual episode is 15. So the recap episode is a recap episode. We see clips from previous things, and we get some voiceovers of the characters. It was, I don't know what you thought, but I thought it was actually surprisingly entertaining.
Oh, I thought it was great. In fact, I thought it was better than the actual episode we watched this week. Yeah, it was very entertaining. They had lots of jokes in there and made it really humorous. I thought it was very well done. And unfortunately, the actual episode wasn't as good as it was.
I actually do think I enjoyed this one more than the next episode because there were a lot of great jokes in there. I think my favorite is when one of the characters. So each episode, most episodes of Shangri-La Frontier open with someone, doing the voiceover about bad games and people wanting to play and how there being some people who still try them. And we have that, except it's a different character doing it and then uses it as an opportunity to make fun of Sunraku. So the voiceovers the characters do throughout the whole thing are constantly just making fun of things in the series. And even the clips we saw, most of them were actually they did a good job at least showing the entertaining stuff for the most part. Yeah, the jokes are good. This is actually a pretty decent recap episode. Did you watch the credits? Because then you have Ray show up and having missed the whole thing. you hear her in the voiceover. So yeah, it was pretty funny. It's not required viewing in any way, but yeah, the jokes actually worked for me. Or the part where Emma's saying, if you want to see the whole thing, watch episode 11. Anyway, so then we get to the actual episode 15. So basically, with that PK group all gets attacked by a bunch of clans because Pencilgon tipped them off because she betrayed the group. We also find out apparently one of the guys that is actually her brother. So in real life, apparently, which is so maybe we'll see more of that. Anyway, then ultimately our main three characters end up going to fight Weathermon, which they've kind of been setting up, and they need to go, like the boss character, and really for some reason that's not quite, I didn't think was exactly explained. Maybe it's part of their strategy and they'll say it. Sunraku seems to be the only one who's actually fighting him, but he's managing to hold off the things until he does get hit and dies, but then they just throw him a revival potions and he's back. So, yes, that's basically it. I mean, there were some other stuff, but mostly it was just them, setting up for the fight and then them starting on the fight. Also, there was some sort I don't know if this happened to you, but there was some sort of error when I watched it because, so there's a part where, the text goes on screen to say, okay, this is all the stuff that's on screen, except it did not go away. It just stayed there, covering up some of the screen. I think at first I thought, so I guess they're just on the whole thing, but then I turned it off and turned it back on and it was gone. So I think it was just a glitch or something. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't as funny as the recap episode.
Yeah. Now, Pencilgon, is that the purple-haired girl?
Yes. I just call.
Is that really a man in real life?
No. It's a woman. The other, the blonde female girl. She's really a guy in real life.
Okay.
Some I can't remember their name. It was some pro gamer who just decided to make a female character. I just want to know how they do the voice because it sounds female. Do they use some sort? I mean, this takes place in the future. Do a bunch of people just use some kind of voice modulator to do that sort of thing? Maybe the series will explain at some point if we see them in real life. I think we do at some point, but I don't know when. Okay. So yeah, it was. I still thought it was fun, but I wish it had more of the comedy that we saw in the recap episode.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the better recap episodes I've seen.
Yep.
All right. So we've got my teen romantic comedy Snafu, episode 24. So the characters basically are trying to figure out what their fields of study should be, whether they want to go into science or liberal arts. There's some stuff about rumors about relationships between characters. Hachiman ends up. Well, was he the only? I can't of the main group who was in the race. I can't remember if the other two were or not. But
I don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, he competes and actually does great. Except then he and the person he's racing with end up just stopping to talk for some reason. A bunch of people go by them, and then the other guy's like, "Well, I'll just win," and then he goes and wins it all anyway. So, yeah, so there's yeah, and there's a bunch of that's the kind of plot stuff, but a lot of it was, of course, the characters talking and doing, I don't know exactly what you call it, just the conversations they have.
Yeah. I'll help you with it. There was the big controversy about whether the one guy whose name escapes me, about whether he was going out with Yukino or not, and then Hachiman kind of confronted him and told him which type of field he should go into, and he kind of didn't take that too well, and then Hachiman gets injured, so Yukino tries to help him, help with his wounds, and they share one of those classic anime romance moments where they look each other in the eyes, but nothing happens there. But and then a lot of people say what I, in fact, have started to say, which is that Yukino's personality has really changed. And I thought it was funny that they mentioned that, because it was like, yeah, it really has changed. And I can't figure out why. But they've noticed it. It's the same way the viewers have noticed it. And overall, I thought it was a really good episode.
Yes, I was, when I was saying the conversations, because the show does that thing where characters just have conversations about things, and it's kind of hard to really summarize them. Yes, but I agree, this was my not so great summary aside, this was definitely a step up from the previous run of episodes. I think it really was the whole student council arc was just not very good, and it went on for a while. When now that we're finally freed from it, the show can get better again.
Yeah. Also, I finally noticed that Yui's catchphrase is "Ya hello," and I never realized that she always says that "Ya hello" whenever she. Obviously, I can't do it with my deep voice, but yeah, that's her catchphrase.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that either.
Yeah, look whenever she greets someone, and she'll go, "Yeah, hello."
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So then we move on to episode 7 of Full Metal Panic Fumofu.
Yeah.
Do you want to describe it, or?
Yeah, I will. So basically, there's this rugby team, and they want to save their club. So they get Kaname and Sosuke to try to save the club. And then it turns out that there are a whole bunch of wimps who are scared to do anything that might get them injured. So Sosuke decides to whip them into shape, military style, and he uses a book he got from Mao, which has some, let's just say, offensive things, of ways of insulting these people in order to make them get in shape, and they bleep certain words out, which is kind of humorous. Although sometimes it's like, whoa, that I don't know how they got away with that, but eventually he's able to turn them into all these extremely mean and nasty rugby players, so that then whenever they go out on the field, they get into a big fight and just start pummeling the other team. And I guess they saved their club, but yeah, they lost a lot of their dignity in the process. And but yeah, and then at the end of the episode, Sosuke continues to go at them with that book that Mao gave him, and saying all these really offensive things that got bleeped out.
Oh, I didn't think to do it, but I should have. Did you check the Japanese to see if they had that same sort of thing there?
No.
Okay, because I was wondering, did they like have the? Because the fact they did that makes me think that's the kind of thing that a joke that was from the Japanese. But I'm not sure. Won't be able to really check right now, fortunately. But yeah, so yeah, it was a funny episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was very funny. I enjoyed it.
A lot of it was really funny. I kind of feel like it didn't really. I feel like it needed a better like joke to end on. It just kind of feels like it just sort of stops at the end. But if this would have been like. This would have been, I still like this episode, but it would have been like an absolute thumbs up if they had just come up with a better final joke. Mm-hmm. So, like if maybe after all that, they all just like go completely back to normal, otherwise or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, it was funny. It definitely requires you to know a bit more about Full Metal. It's kind of weird because prior to this, I feel like you could pretty well understand what's going on, even if you've never seen Full Metal Panic. But here, it's just a matter of they just name drop Mao with the assumption that you know her, because it doesn't make any sense if you haven't. She hasn't shown up so far this season.
Right. Yeah. And the next episode preview tells us that Tessa is going to show up in the next episode.
Yeah, does Mao show? I know Tessa does. Does Mao show up in this season?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, that's her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted you said I just wanted to make sure because there was a different character who had a similar name. I was thinking, am I getting them mixed up? Okay, I did get them right. I can never remember her name usually. I just think of her as Misato because it's the same voice actress.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yep, there's that. Then we have Dark Gathering, episode 2. So because of the sort of spirits, it's sort of, I can't remember if it's exactly possession or just hovering around him, but Kitaro, because of like his hand being cursed, he has to basically go to what they refer to as an exorcism, but technically it really just seems like they just cut off like some of the nerve stuff around that grows around his hand. In any event, they do that, but because he kind of gets weakened by that, he does get sort of hypnotized by one of the evil spirits that was inhabiting this doll. But Yayoi is able to defeat it and rescue him, and then, of course, just takes it back as a souvenir, essentially, and puts it in... Oh, yeah, it does put it in her room where she's got all those other cursed objects, which she does show to Keitaru, who finds it very, who gets very creeped out by all of it. Mm-hmm. And yes, that was essentially the episode.
Yeah, pretty entertaining, pretty good episode. Yeah.
Yeah, it has like the same string of the first episode. You know, there's some legitimately funny jokes in here, but it still does work as a horror series. But at the same time, it's not. It doesn't like go too dark or anything. You got the horror elements, but it's also kind of an adventure action series, and the jokes work. It all manages to combine together right, which I think I have to give the series some credit for, because while it works, that's the sort of thing that could easily not work. But so far, it's worked for the series.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's our shows then.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't anything else we watched, so I guess we can move into giving our rankings of them.
This week is a little harder for me because for maybe the first time this year, there's more shows than spots to give out to. More shows that I want to give spots to, that is. So there's 4 shows I could easily give the top 3 to, but I'm going to have to go with Shangri-La Frontier will get 3rd place just because of that recap episode. 2nd place will be Demon Slayer, and for 1st place, I'm going with Snafu for the 2nd straight week.
Okay. For me, this is a tricky one to do because, there are a bunch of good series here. I'm just trying to think of exactly what order put some of these things in. Well, Demon Slayer was fun, but I feel like I can't quite get it into the top 3. Yeah, I'm thinking there's like a bunch of shows like Demon Slayer. Honestly, every thing except I guess Naruto Shippuden was at least decent. I wasn't huge on Ninja Kamui, but I still thought it was like better than like the last episode. One Piece at least had some fun stuff. Like the bit where Bartolomeo just wanders into the hospital thing and is kind of a jerk. That was pretty funny, and that was actually filler, I think, that scene. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll take a funny filler scene over all the lengthened reaction shots.
Yeah.
Other series. So, but obviously, those those wouldn't. That's still not going to put it into the top 3. But for the top 3, I will therefore put in. There's so many are so close, unfortunately. Let me just think quick. Okay, I'm going to therefore do. Okay, I got it. I'll put Dark Gathering in 3rd, Full Metal Panic Fumofu in 2nd, and Shangri-La Frontier in 1st.
Okay.
And that was those were all very close to each other. All right. And that's our podcast. We don't have I don't think we have anything else to talk about.
I do.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I watched the 2nd episode of the Cowboy Bebop live-action show, and now I can start to understand why people have problems with this show. So basically, the plot line is that Jet and Spike are trying to get a bounty on someone, and they keep on getting into these arguments with each other and fighting with each other. And I don't remember their relationship in the original series being this strained, where they were like always going back and forth at each other. So yeah, that's one thing that I have problems with. They so they tried to hunt down this one person to get a bounty on them, but in the meantime, Spike Spiegel turns into Monkey D. Luffy, and he's now really hungry all the time. So I have no idea why they did this, but they made Spike Spiegel have Luffy's personality of being hungry all the time, needing to eat. So we have this whole thing about this whole running joke about how Spike Spiegel needs to get his noodles, and he uses that as an excuse to go and visit someone from the syndicate. And then they have this creepy scene of the syndicate where Vissus nearly kills Julia but doesn't actually do it, and you can tell he's generally a bad guy. And but yeah, this episode, the main thing it builds up to is Jet and Spike having to work together to figure out this bounty thing, and basically they don't want to get along with each other until finally, they figure things out, I guess, and I guess everything turns out okay. But yeah, it felt a lot to me like Spike Spiegel was way out of character, and he wasn't really even close to what his anime self was. Jet, my biggest problem with Jet is just that he curses and acts so angry all the time that, like, I don't remember Jet Black being so grouchy as he is in this series. So yeah, there's some problems I have with it, so I can see where people obviously didn't like it as much. At the same time, I still feel that it's very entertaining, and it's worth the watch. So I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment, but I do think, yeah, what you're talking about seems interesting. I mean, it's been a very long time since I saw the original series, but Jet, I remember him being kind of, I thought he was the calmest and most level-headed of the group.
Exactly, yeah. Yep.
So him being really angry seems a little weird. I guess you can always say, well, it's an adaptation. Characters aren't necessarily the same, but at the problem is the fact, if you want to say, okay, it's a different series, characters can be different. The thing is, you're calling it Cowboy Bebop. Like, there's no reason to just do that unless your hope is, hey, a bunch of people like this series, we'll try to get some of them to check this out. So I feel like if you're just going to be using the name for that sort of thing, it definitely should be something that wouldn't be too different. Now, sometimes, you can change things. There's, what am I trying? I know there's cases, I'm trying to remember. I don't have any great examples off the top of my head, but I know they exist. Ones where adaptations changed a lot of things and they were generally considered pretty good as a result. But usually those ones are of older series that, weren't like the biggest thing. Like, for example, did you know, I don't know what kind of changes were made exactly, but did you know that, Dumbo, the Disney film, that was based on a book? You probably didn't know it because, it wasn't that well known of a book. People just remember the animated one. And actually, I have no idea how much they changed, so maybe that's a bad example. But I guess my point is, if if you're trying to use brand recognition, you should have it so that the people who like the brand in question will like it. That's what they did with One Piece to great effect. They kept it. They kept the characters pretty close to their originals. There were some changes, some things were emphasized differently, but you can see all that stuff. Now, once again, I haven't seen this, but from what I'm hearing of this, it does sound like they really did switch up a bunch of things in terms of their personalities.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think they want to go for the whole, violent and explosions type of thing. But Cowboy Bebop was a lot more than just that. So, yeah.
Okay. And that's everything. Then this has been our podcast, and we'll be here next week for the usual things, except without One Piece because it won't be aired or anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nothing else to really say then. I guess I'll just do the usual thing where I just kind of awkwardly end it and say we'll see you next time.
Bye.
A 77-inch square window.